Yes, it is the meat and potatoes. And if you are a regular listener to this show, you've heard me discuss the path of sustained high performance. You know, it's my big thing. I've helped athletes win world titles. I've helped very busy leaders show up and gain an edge in the workplace. I've helped everyday people emerge from mental health challenges or clinical ill health to find their recipe for sustained high performance. It doesn't matter what field we're talking about. For me, performance is performance. Your success is about more than just occasional excellence. It's about consistently showing up your best self, physically and mentally, especially when it matters most. And the truth is that across any field, for you to show up consistently and predictably, it requires mastery in two interconnected areas. The first is a performance base layer. And that's the first pillar, if you want to call it that, of sustained high performance. That's you showing up and consistently delivering your best physical self, operating with unwavering energy levels, sharp cognitive function, a really robust immune system so you're taken out of the game less, and a physical resiliency to handle life's demands. It's about you being prepared every day to face challenges head on. And that's the physical part of it. But there is also the mental component as well. That's what we label the traits of a high performance mindset. You've heard me talk about it on this show a lot. You want to think about that as your second connected pillar, cultivating a mindset of mental resiliency and adaptability. This mindset is essential for you to be able to navigate obstacles, to perform under pressure, to overcome setbacks, and to thrive no matter what the environment is. In many ways, it's your inner strength that drives you to push through challenges to emerge stronger. And when we combine these elements, daily physical readiness and a high-performance mindset, it's empowering. It empowers you to rise to the occasion consistently, confidently meet life's demands, and effectively overcome obstacles. A purple patch, we might say that you are delivering yourself to consistent and predictable purple patches. Now, if you are a regular listener, that's old news. We've talked about it quite a lot. We've done episodes on both your performance base layer and a high performance mindset. So where do children come into this? Well, it turns out that we can understand ourselves as humans if we actually cast our minds back a little bit and we reflect on our childhoods and we reflect on the role and the importance of free play. So when we think about child development, I want to investigate two key areas. Number one, free play. And number two, the critical role of experiences, actually living experiences rather than just learning or receiving information. And what we're going to do by understanding these components is we're then going to link them very simply to the development in improving in a journey of sport or, of course, life and work performance. And so there are really two parts of this. The first is a reflection on free play for kids. What's the value? What's the importance? And even a little bit around what's the consequence if we don't let our kids engage in free play. And in that free play, how experiences play a critical role in emotional development. And then we're going to very simply create a bridge where we think about our own experiences and how that relates to my recommendation of taking on a physical challenge, embracing sport. In fact, in many ways, by reflecting on kids today, we can answer the question, why do so many CEOs of major organizations love to do things like climb Everest or try and fly around the world in a hot air balloon or compete in a marathon or Ironman? It's a lot about what we're talking about today. So let's first talk about children engaging in free play, out in the playground, not under at least strict adult supervision, where they've got freedom to go around and do whatever they want. Take risks, climb up, go a little bit faster, throw, collaborate all together. It's the chaos of the playground. How does this link to their emotional development? After all, you are going through, or they are going through childhood so that they can develop tools to enable them to be more effective as adults. And so how does free play play a role in this? It turns out it's really critical, it's really important. Firstly, free play fosters social skills. Unstructured, and this is really important, it's not about organised sports, it's not about supervised play dates. Unstructured play amongst children is crucial for developing some of the social skills that we think about as adults: negotiation, cooperation, conflict resolution. Stand on the side of any school playground, of course with permission please, and you would see these things happening in real time. So free play helps with social skills. That's great. Free play also is the arena where you build emotional resilience. Engaging in free play allows children to experience managing minor risks, some failures, setbacks, disagreements with one another. And so in other words, it helps them develop the emotional resilience and also core components of self-regulation. Free play, of course, as well encourages creativity, problem solving. In other words, it stimulates children to actually learn to solve problems independently, contributing to their emotional and cognitive development. And free play ultimately promotes autonomy. Through free play, children learn to make their own decisions, to navigate social dynamics without constant adult intervention. And so that cannot help but foster a sense of confidence and autonomy. And so in other words, a lot of the components that I would argue lead on, and most child development experts would as well, lead on to becoming a higher functioning adult, it occurs out of free play. But everything I just outlined there, they're not my thoughts. That's not what I believe free play does. Any child development expert would highlight this. A book that I would encourage you to read, perhaps add to your repertoire, is called The Anxious Generation. It's by Jonathan Haidt. It's very, very interesting. And in the book, Jonathan goes into great depth of the importance of free play. And he also highlights some of the perils of denying free play to a child's development. It actually holds back emotional development if a child doesn't have access to free play. He also goes into the negative consequences of replacing free play outside in the chaos of the playground and the parks, and replacing it with screen time, video games, social media, other individual screen-based activities, because they are not the grounds in which we get the emotional development. Now that's a really compelling read for me as a father of a 12-year-old, but it also sparked my coaching mind. When I'm aiming to help adults improve their performance, think about this. Kids, play is vital to enable them to ultimately thrive in life. You see where I'm going with this as a coach, don't you? And that's a big part of this experience. When we think about play, it's a vital arena to equip them in broader life, the important part of life. And a huge part of free play is experience. It would be pointless telling children, lining them up against the wall and saying, here is the value of play. Now here's the theory. The only pathway for them to actually foster the emotional development of these components that we talked about: negotiation, collaboration, overcoming adversity, navigating a sense of risk, creativity, all of these components that I just outlined, the only way that the emotional development can occur for the children is via experience. Let's consider the importance of experience over just receiving information. It's pretty simple stuff, but it's important. Learning through doing. I've seen as a coach firsthand the power of doing. Experience, especially when it involves challenges and direct engagement, is far more impactful for learning and personal growth than any time you just have a passive consumption of information. He says this as the coach as you're sitting here having a passive consumption of information. But ultimately, application, experience is where you really start to gel. You start to gain actual emotional development. Real life experiences lead to deeper, more embodied understandings of concepts and skills, as opposed to just receiving information. It also fosters moral and emotional development. Experiences, particularly those that engage with emotional challenges, are really essential for developing empathy, compassion, moral reasoning, and finally, wisdom. None of us, children included, develop wisdom through theory. It's only through lived experiences. Individuals apply and test their knowledge in real-world situations rather than just accumulating facts. And so when we bring this back to children, play delivers a profound impact of active engagement and real-world experiences that therefore have the driving impact of improving emotional and cognitive development. Great. Free play, we're sold. Super.